Welcome to Sauna Talk. Kirk Jensen, he's a host of 1,000 saunas and probably more. He is currently one of the lead hosts at the 612 Sauna Society in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. And this episode may be especially interesting for those considering starting a sauna business, or for those who have attended a Butts on the Bench public sauna and want to know a little bit more about how sauna hosts manage the comings and goings and the general operational aspects to a sauna business like this. I've known Kirk for several years. I was the lead builder of the 612 sauna. And second to JP, the founder and former longtime chief firewood officer, I'd put Kirk right up there as a pillar of the 612 Sauna Society. Don't get me wrong, it takes a village to keep 612 as a free-range, cash-positive, organic co-op. As I think about it, it'd be great to present a follow-up podcast with Vanessa, Jess, Megan, Christine, and all of the 612 board and staff. But for right now, I'm right here in the mix as a fellow long-standing 612 Sauna Society board member with Kurt, and he and I each like to drink the same kind of beer when we get together for our monthly 612 board meetings at a local craft brewery in Minneapolis. So we're kindred spirits in crime, put it that way. I've helped a lot of people get started in their saunapreneur journeys, and looking at the myriad of roles in running a Butts on the Bench sauna business, build, the marketing, the maintenance, the cleaning, hosting, firewooding, all the outreaching. In my view, hosting is one of those special yet integral components. It's often a choke point to be out there engaging with people, welcoming people, where's my towel, that kind of stuff. So this is what Kurt does. I built my first mobile sauna in the early 2000s. I brought a semi-mobile sauna to gatherings and cold plunges around Minneapolis, Minnesota. And during that somewhat brief time, I had a very clear exposure to cold feet, standing around in sub-zero weather. And in addition to where's my towel, or I'd listen to many similar stories such as, I remember as a child, we used to go to my grandparents' cabin in northern Minnesota. They had a sauna, and beautiful stories. But after a while, somewhat sadly, these stories all start to sound the same to me. It doesn't diminish the warm expressions and twinkles in their eyes, but for me, I would politely smile and nod my head and be dreaming of my own backyard sauna where I could go and don't have to respond to anybody and their stories. So anyway, enough about me. This Sauna Talk podcast is about Kirk Jensen, is with Kirk Jensen and his experiences as a long-standing sauna host. Kirk digs hosting, and to me, this episode is evidence of the wide range of goodness of sauna, from building to taking to enjoying to hosting. Yeah, we're just saying this is not work. This is Sauna Talk.
This is Sauna Talk. This is just a bunch of guys just having sauna talk. I like it.
And we're on the bench here with
Kirk Jensen from 612 Sauna Society.
And Kurt, where's home for you? Where'd you grow up and where do you live?
I grew up in Plymouth through early adulthood, through college. That's where my parents lived. And then a couple of apartments around the metro area. And then my wife and I settled in South Minneapolis. We're over by Hiawatha Falls right now.
So basically Minneapolis born and bred.
Yeah, homeboy for sure.
Cool. Let's take, let me start with this one for guests, for listeners. What is your first memory of sauna, dating back? Is this something that you grew up with? Is it something you discovered? How did sauna come into your life?
It was not. I recall, early on, grade school or junior high, being at friends who lived in apartment buildings in their, electric saunas, or at the YMCA or something. It's just sort of a warm up. But I never really knew what the experience was supposed to be or what it could be. Mm-hmm. And then my family and I have got 2 adult children now, but my wife and my 2 kids, when they were younger in grade school, we started going to YMCA Camp du Nord up in Ely on Burnside Lake there. And they have a spectacular wood-fired sauna right on the lake that I believe was the first building the women that started that camp built in 1930 something. But it's just really gorgeous. It's got a wraparound deck. There's no electricity in that structure, so it's got kerosene lanterns on it, and it's just gorgeous. It is such a nice building, and it's got all the patina that our forge, the sauna for 612 is starting to take on now. It's just, the benches are getting smoothed out and it's worn, and you can just almost visualize, the thousands of people that have sat in there over the years. And it's really funny. So anyway, so we came back from one of those trips, and this would have been 2016. And I started cyber stalking public saunas in the metro area on the internet, and stumbled across 612 that was right when you and JP and everybody was bringing it to completion and getting ready to launch it. So you guys had done the heavy lifting with the Kickstarter, the design and build out, and now it was ready to work. And I started hosting that year. And
would that now have been 2017 or 2016? I'm always trying to...
I think it was 16. I know you and I were wrestling with that. And I want to say the first I worked at was Landscape Love. I want to, and I thought you and I found some images that were date stamped that were 2016.
Right on.
Anyways, so I've been hosting since, and then been on the board for 3 years now, along with yourself. But it is funny because that camp and that sauna is such a nexus for all the people that come to 612. I mean, it is really a touchstone, because I'll ask people that same question as I'm hosting, especially if they're new guests. I always want to know, how did you guys find your way to our doorstep? Did you have any trepidation or concerns about coming in, especially for unaccompanied women that come? Because I know we advertise what we are. I think we do a good job and accurately report that, but you really don't know what you're walking into. You're in this confined space with a bunch of strangers, and that can be sort of an intimidating process. So I always want to know how much that weighed on people's minds, because I suspect there may be people out there that are sauna curious but haven't pulled the trigger because of some barrier they've erected in their head, or something that they think may be not as it should be, or something like that.
Good. Yeah, but the barrier is you can throw water if you like. But to paraphrase where you're at, or when you hear like people that are new.
Ooh, that's a sauna filter.
Is that familiar?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's the one thing, if I can just diverge for a minute, that people really appreciate with wood-fired sauna. I'm just referencing our site specifically, but all the sensory stuff that goes with it. The crackling of the wood, visuals, the smell of the wood smoke when I was coming down the alley to walk here tonight. I mean, I could tell right away when I was coming up on your place, because I could smell the wood smoke, and just all that sensory stuff that you really need to experience it. It's so good, and it just turns you into like a horrible beer snob, though, because once you've had that, nothing else reaches that mark, and that's what you judge everything by.
It is such a great analogy. I know I've become such a sauna snob. To that effect, and that's okay. I mean, I think we deserve that. I mean, life is short.
Come by, honestly.
Yeah, I think we have a potential moniker for our T-shirt. It'd be like, life's too short to experience bad heat.
Sauna. Yeah. It's like life's too short to drink bad beer. Right? Exactly.
Lovely. What is, on that note, what does good heat mean to you?
I don't have a background in thermodynamics, but the way it has been explained to me, and I believe this because I think I feel it, is that with wood heat specifically, the wavelength is longer and penetrates deeper into your musculature and your tissue, and gives you more complete warming heat from the inside out. Whereas if I understand it correctly, and if I don't, I'm sure one of your listeners will correct me, but UV or the electronic stuff sort of tends to treat you as a chunk of protein and microwave you, essentially, for lack of a better term. And I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, if that's a correct analogy, or even the physics of it.
Did you hear that from a guest or your research?
I think I did. People we'll talk about that. Again, just like snobs at a beer fest, everybody, when you're sitting on the bench, all these conversations occur organically, and often it centers around what we're doing at the time, or saunas people have been to, or spa type experiences and that kind of stuff. So it is interesting to see as a host. And I think you and I've talked about this in past times, but you're the first point of contact for somebody if they come either being dragged by a friend, or they're like, I'm going to take this risk and come here and see what this experience is and see if it's really what they purport it to be. To be the first person to welcome them and reassure them that this is going to be okay, you're going to enjoy this is going to be fun, and to just see that once they're on the bench and they start joining in conversation with others, that it all just come together organically. I don't know that I've ever had... so we'll seat at 612 in our forge. We'll seat, usually a maximum of 7 or 8, depending on what kind of event is going on. I don't think I've had a session where it's been 7 individual people that have shown up independently, but usually, so a group of 3 different groups of whatever number ends up to 7 or 8. And certainly within a couple of minutes, conversation just breaks out. Even if people are somewhat shy or reluctant to speak, it just happens as part of that process. It's really cool to see that, and to see new converts too. Usually anybody that comes there that is willing to take the step, either being brought by somebody or gifted a certificate or going out on the tightrope without a safety net and seeing what the experience is like, they're almost always a convert to sauna. You and I both know this, there is no middle ground for sauna. It's either, hard pass or hell yeah. So there's no dabbling in it. People don't say, I could take it or leave it. There is none of that to my experience in it.
So as a host, you greet a new guest. This is your first time to the 612 sauna. Welcome. How and then do you always or usually ask them how they heard about it, how familiar they are to sauna? Is that a common thing, or only when it feels right?
I do always, because I'm curious. I want to know personally, for the organization, for our outreach efforts, and just to know where our customer base is coming from, because it may not always be the folks that we think it is. We think we have a good handle on that, but then we'll always get a surprise of a certain demographic will show up, and I'm like, gosh, I didn't think that group of people is interested in this.
And staying on that, like if Fred and Gloria say, well, we thought we'd check it out because we've been to Camp du Nord out of Ely, then you'll have a knowing smile, and you can relate, and then they don't need much education. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's it. I want to make sure I'm not mansplaining anything, because that is an easy trap to fall into, and you don't want to do that. So it's kind of sounding out people's experience level and what they want from the experience too. And that's something that usually is not that difficult to manage, but something you need to be cognizant about, because again, you've got different parties coming together in this one confined space, and things like putting essential oil in the water for aromatherapy. A lot of people like it. Some people have fragrance aversions and all that. So we have to tailor it to whatever the outlier is. So if there's one person that has an allergy or a strong aversion to fragrance, we just won't use it during that session. So I'll pull people on that.
On that note, do you, as host, do you allow this to be guest choice, like dealer's choice? Do you throw water? Do you tell people they can throw water? Is there a rule that, or a method of that, of Lolu that works?
I'll usually solicit the oil one specifically, and then either myself or the support host, we have apply that just to make sure we don't over apply or get oils that weren't solicited, or any sort of things like that. There's not a lot that can be terribly wrong, but just.
And 9 times out of 10, or most all the time, you're in street clothes.
Yeah, usually I will dress in layers, and usually by the first month in there, I can be in or out in whatever I happen to be wearing. It really doesn't matter.
But you're not taking sauna. You're a host.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The support host, the way we staff it, or our preference to, if we can get enough people involved in it, is to to have one lead host, which is myself, and you take care of all the administrative stuff. You make sure the fires are properly cared for, make sure there's drinking water and water for the sauna, keep track of the time, watch over people's personal belongings and all that. And then we would have a what we deem a support host who would be in the hot room with the guests, assisting them with oil and steam, and any newcomers, just kind of walking them through the process of what to expect. And it's all fairly common sense. Listen to your body. Sure. If you're getting overheated,
love that.
Go outside, get cooled down. Yeah.
And then how is it that you settle into being a host instead of support host? It sounds to me the support host has got the best gig.
It is a good deal. it is a good deal, and I'll make a shameless solicitation for any of those that may consider joining our organization. For support hosts, you get to spend the majority of your shift time in the box. So you do get sauna that's baked right into to the entering arguments for it. And then additionally, the hours you work, because we are a cooperative, you can apply those towards cooperative membership, just like you would at a food co-op, volunteering there, and or additional sauna sessions, which you can then use yourself, gift to somebody or whatever. So it is, you're exactly right. It is a really good deal.
Yeah. And so support host is a great way for host training as well. It's a
program,
it
is.
Right?
It's sort of a gateway drug to that, and that's what we're hoping, is that it will be a farm league to develop more hosts. The ultimate goal there, if we're successful as an organization, is perhaps add an additional sauna unit or have more hours to be open, because I think we're nowhere near serving the demand that is out there. And even as other organizations add their own spin on sauna and thermal culture, there's so much room in the metro. It's been ignored for so long that once this train started, we're picking up passengers all over the darn place.
Yeah, great metaphor to that. So 612, 4 days a week now?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday evenings. We're at the Trailhead at Theodore Wirth Park in Minneapolis. So that's our winter home. We have a really nice partnership with them. We had previously been at the American Swedish Institute, which was fun in its own right. We were right in their central mezzanine or courtyard area. So you are literally in a fishbowl there. And that was a really good run and really enjoyable time. Got a lot of eyeballs on our sauna, and now we're leveraging that at the Trailhead with fat tire bikers and Nordic skiers. So
beautiful.
It's just a really nice partnership.
Yeah. And staying a little bit with the chronology. So back to 2016, you really gravitated to the host position. I think you've been the longest tenured host, would you say?
I think so. I was trying to figure this out, and I know you and I have talked about this in past years. Doing quick back of the envelope math, I think I came up with today, as I was thinking about this this discussion we were going to have, I think I'm somewhere around 1,500 hours to 2,000 hours hosting. So if I am at 2,000, that's a year's full-time work.
Wow.
So
wow.
But having said that, the Kuma stoves that we have are so easy to operate and so durable and trouble-free. It is really a pleasure to work with it, and it's.
Let's talk about the operation, the wood fire. So, say it's a day that you're hosting.
Yeah.
And now, are you showing up to a cold sauna?
Oftentimes. So tomorrow, Thursday, I'll be running the entire evening. So I'll be opening and closing, which sounds intimidating, but it's like a 6-hour span.
Let's talk through the day as you make more steam.
Yeah. So I'll show 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Perhaps. Certainly no later than that. I don't think it'll be fairly warm tomorrow, but on a really cold day where the trailer's been cold soaked for the better part of a week, you want to get there 2 hours early. Get the fire lit. Mm-hmm. We're real sensitive to make sure whoever closes in the evenings, which is oftentimes me. I closed Sunday night. The last time it was open, I made sure I had plenty of kindling split and all the firewood ready to go, because
fantastic. Yeah.
Everything else you can take the luxury of time setting up, but you gotta get that fire lit. And you gotta start building some heat in the stove and in the room. So
But you could do it an hour before. If
I could if I really had to. It's not a comfortable spot to be in.
Yeah, right. But you're a pro, and you want to, you let time be on your side. So
yeah.
You'll go and do you use the upside down fire? Or?
I have done that in the past. I confess I usually will start at campfire style with like a paraffin sawdust base starter underneath and some cut kindling, and then build it from there.
And that's flawless in terms of
and that's the thing. It always works. The upside down one I know you've had great success with, and maybe I need to fool.
Well, no, if you got a fire style, look, I think it's the best investment you can make because you light that and off you go. And there's a laundry list of things you got to do, like bringing the furniture out and
all these things to prep the the cool down area. And on that, once it's lit, you've got everything going. You got a bed of coals. It'll hold heat very well. Those. The walls on that, you would probably know this better than me, are what, 3-4 inches thick on the firewalls, and once you get that whole mass heated up, 0 to 100 takes a little bit, but from 1 to 200 comes awful quick. Once building the studs, the sheetrocks, the quickcrete or whatever's in the floor and the stove start to take heat. It happens.
Amazing.
Happens fairly rapidly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a rabbit hole of discussion, but you're right. There's so much energy required to get it up to, like, when you said, I think you had a good word for that. Did you say cold start or
cold soaked? It's been cold soaked over.
Cold soaked.
From Sunday evening till Thursday afternoon. Yes. That's a lot of time sitting there.
Well, let's say so you're going to run it tomorrow, Thursday, and let's say you were opening Friday and you entered the hot room on Friday. Could you tell cold soaked from that? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because here now it's fairly warm. It's like 30-ish degrees here, and I think it's going to be forecast for that through Friday. But
that's about 0 Celsius.
Yeah, if it's below 0 Fahrenheit, you can definitely tell it's been sitting longer.
It's cold soaked. It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
Right on. But it's an interesting concept, and I hear you. 0 to like 0 Celsius or 0 Fahrenheit to 100 Fahrenheit is a lot different than 100 Fahrenheit to 180.
Yeah, a lot of folks, and if you don't give it much thought, it's easy to say, well, it's a linear relationship. Well, it's really not. It's a logarithmic relationship, certainly.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so you're on site. You got the stove fired up. Things are clicking along nicely. You're prepping furniture. Yeah. It's not too sexy of a conversation of what you're doing. You're
trying to make it comfortable for guests for the cool down cycle.
Yeah. And then first guests show up, check them in, and off you go, right?
Yeah. So usually I'll wait till everybody's gathered. So I'll just, as people show up, I'll, show them where to get changed and get them in on the bench. And then once everybody has arrived, or, sometimes we'll have no show. So I'll give it till, quarter past start time or, whatever interval. I'll go in and just go through just a quick laundry list of things specific to us, like the sand timer on the wall for the intervals on that, how we came up with, so the oddity is our sand timer, a bit inconsistent, is a 10-minute timer. I timed it once because I mistakenly thought it was 15 minutes, but it is 10.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a little trick to move along.
And when we did the back of the envelope math on figuring out these sessions, and I can't remember if you were part of it or not, our standard session is 90 minutes, so quick arithmetic says 15 in, 15's out times 3 gets you to 90 minutes. So we had to have something for an entering argument. That's what we use that.
Yeah, and just to dive in on that, I remember a board meeting where we were talking about that, and this is one of the things I love. There are many things I love about the 612 Sauna Society, but the board members are sauna takers, right? Like sauna, and the idea of not rushing that session, right? Yeah, hour and a half seems to be a nice sweet spot for people.
It is, and it's very funny. Maybe we'll talk about this later with some of the misconceptions about it. But people are like 90 minutes. Gosh, that's a long time. And I'm like, you would be surprised how quickly it goes by, and it really does. I've had several people comment on that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the flow in the cycling. And one of the things, one of the physical principles of the 612 sauna, the Forge, is this cool down space, like this temperate zone, this antechamber.
Yeah.
This is a helpful space, is it not?
It is, yeah, certainly. And again, that's one of the education pieces I do for people that will come up just chatting to tire kick and see what we're about, but not going to take a sauna that day. And people are always walking by and asking questions, or people that are coming for the first time is, how do I sauna properly? And it's funny, and I shouldn't laugh because I was one of these people, 10 years ago, but a lot of people that don't have any real experience with it think of it as kind of a novelty. It's like a one-off. This is something you do, it's like a bucket list item. It's like bungee jumping or something. It's like you did. It's like, hey, I took a sauna and I rolled in the snow, or I poured water over my head or something. And don't give any consideration to the medical benefits that have been teased out. A lot of research done in Nordic countries, certainly the Finns, and I'm sure the Russians and in other Scandinavian countries. But hot bathing is worldwide. It in some form or another, it may not look and feel exactly like a sauna, but all those types of things of subjecting yourself to heat and then cool down, whether it's on the other end of it with Wim Hof and ice bathing, or super hot Russian banyas. There's a lot on that continuum. So
yeah, and people are really grooving on that. Like, is that another subset of how people come to 612 is because of the reported health benefits?
Yeah, I think so. I have had people ask that, and I'll usually cite the obvious stuff that I know there's wide research on that they can validate for themselves, like cardiac benefits. When you're sitting here like you and I are in the hot room, you're mimicking physical exertion and cardiac exertion. You're pushing all the blood to your extremities. You're literally exerting yourself. And I have had intense sauna experiences where I've gotten up and been sore the next day from that.
Wow. This show is brought to you by Timber Sauna Company. I call them the Timber Brothers. Who is Timber Sauna Company? Well, they are a family of 7 brothers from the UP of Michigan, and I think all of them have been splashing around in a sauna bucket in their grandparents' sauna well before they could walk. This is the kind of DNA that makes good sauna and good sauna builders. A spirit of giving, caring, pride, and soul for good sauna building. Timber Brothers have perfected the Flat Pack Performance Series. How do I know this? Because I've been consulting with Joel for many months, well, probably over a year, maybe even 2 now, on how to provide what people are looking for in good sauna. And if you or someone you know is ready for a kick-ass authentic sauna, chances are you'll be connected first to Dan, one of Joel's 6 brothers, who I've also been working with for several months, probably a year, maybe even longer. Dan is a pro. He's transitioning away from his restaurant service business, a high-pressure role with multi-million-dollar clients, into the role of sauna customer service. He's a straight shooter who will give it to you straight. Those that know me know that I've been helpful in getting other sauna businesses off the ground. The Timber Brothers Performance Series hits the sweet spot between custom builds that get built on site or craned in over your house versus sauna kits that often leave the homeowner scratching their heads, watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out how to put it all together, or even barrel saunas that have limitations best left for the search bar on saunatimes.com. We talk about the last 100 feet, what happens between where the flatbed truck pulls up at the curb and your final resting spot for your sauna in your backyard. This is the choke point. But I've helped Timber Brothers perfect the white glove cherry on top deliver and assemble model. From the time a Timber Brother shows up with your new sauna on a flatbed to the first fire up is often just half a day's worth of work. Have your cooler ready and be ready to meet a warm-hearted, friendly Timber Brother. They care as much about your new sauna as you do. And I don't say this lightly. Timber Brothers has proved their mustard with me, and their kick-ass saunas are fairly priced. As you know, when you feel good heat, it's all over. And it's all over with Timber Brothers and their Performance Series sauna. Go to www.timbersaunaco.com to learn more. Now, on to the show. Yeah, so Kirk, on that note, I have a post on Sauna Times that says the cool down is as important as the heat up.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And for many, they think sauna is this wooden box with a heater in it.
Yes.
But it's so much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, they think of it more as the noun of the location and the object rather than the process of exposing your body to it. Yeah. And that's something I'll see. Obviously people listening to your podcast can't see what it's like. It's just on dusk now. It's a really overcast day, but there's no wind. So it's a pretty pleasant day out here now. Now, if we had any wind component, that's really difficult to deal with. If it's sunny and 0 degrees Fahrenheit, I can sit outside all day long.
It's
doesn't
amazing.
matter to me at all.
As a host.
Yeah.
When you're dressed.
Yeah.
But now it's windy and you're a host.
Yeah.
Can you, you gravitate to the cool down room, right?
Yeah. And it's tough for the guests as well because, you start out with round one. So if they're a novice or they haven't had a lot of that, it takes a while to get your body conditioned to this. You and I know that. But they'll stay in, get a real robust heat up session, come outside, and the wind will strip the heat off of your skin. Your core hasn't cooled down, but you're cold. And you're legitimately cold because all this moisture has been stripped off by the wind. It's evaporated. You're cold. You want to go back inside. That's going to constrain your second heat up cycle and your third and your fourth. And pretty soon you're walking in there, and it's by round 3 or 4, you're in there for 2 minutes and you're shot. You're gassed because you didn't get that complete cool down cycle. And it's totally understandable because you were in the elements that prohibited that from happening. So you have to find some shelter somewhere where you can, where it's 40, 50 degrees or something you can adequately cool down. And that's
absolutely
something that folks struggle with.
Do you coach people on that?
I do. I will tell people as they come, and if we're in the middle of it and it's windy, there's not much can be done at that point except stay inside. Stay inside some sort of shelter like our warm room at the at the forge. But I'll counsel them to bring slippers for their feet. Wear a sauna cap if you want to, and then like a real tight weave spa robe. Because terry cloth is useless. It's porous. It's like wearing a screen door. It'll just blow through it. But you get a real tight weave. Less of an insulator, but more of a wind shell, right? So
good.
Yeah, and that seems to help.
Yeah, well, I would have to say this is top 2 or 3 in terms of being a good host. You described that so well. You listen to your core, not your skin, and it's really hard to do that when you're freezing cold from wind.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is because the comfort part of your body is telling you enough, man. I want out. And I'm sure I haven't done a lot of it, but I'm sure that's probably the same with cold immersion too. Is your surface area is screaming at you. I've done the plunge holes at Lake Harriet and some of the other areas around here, and I've stayed in. I think the longest I was in was like 8 minutes, but the first 3 minutes, it's like rolling around on glass shards. Your body is screaming at you. You can't catch your breath because your chest contracts. And then you start to go numb and lose your motor skills. And that's when it's comfortable, but that's when it's dangerous too, because if you ever fall through the ice and that occurs, you got to get out and get moving.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's yes. So a guest on Sauna Talk, Scott Carney, wrote the book called The Wedge. And what I love about the wedge is it's this metaphor. The wedge is that space between stimulus and response. And that's a condition that we have. Like we are conditioned to, when we feel that intense cold, to get away from it, right?
Yeah.
But when you become conditioned to this process, this whole thermogenesis thing of the hot and the cold and stuff, we're like, oh, it is bitter cold. This feels like shard glass, but we know that, but that's stimulus. And then the choice is how we respond to that. And when we get to love this process as we do, we welcome that. We reprogram our autonomic nervous system to say, yeah, this is fucking cold, but I'm going to get through this.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be a better person.
Yeah, and not having any medical background, but I'm sure that's where a lot of the health benefits of that comes through too. Is an office worker like myself, I'm in 72 degree temperatures all day long. I never am subjected at work or do I have to subject myself to any of these conditions. Your body gets used to operating in that range. Right. And unless you shock it outside of it, either hot or cold, that stuff's really going to freak you out.
And you get wimpy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We become wimpy as a species.
Yeah.
And that, we want to like tap into this like sort of primal business,
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's something to it. I mean, it sure feels like it to me anyways. Yeah.
Amen. Well said. So back to hosting. And so things are going great for you, and you've been at it since 2016. I mean, wow. I mean, 6 full years, 2,000 hours of hosting.
Yeah.
And you like it.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is fun. So my wife's a pastor, just as of this year, but she was in seminary for the last 4 years. So she's tied up Saturday night and Sunday anyway. So my favorites are to be there in the evenings. That's always my favorite time to sauna. I mean, I won't turn down a sauna any time of day, but particularly with our location at Theodore Wirth in the winter, it's fun chaos during the day because there's a ton of ski instruction and ski leagues and all this kind of stuff going on. And then once the sun sets, the whole environment flips. It turns very chill, and we kind of have the place to ourselves. There's still skiers out there, but nowhere near the level of cacophony that was there during the day, and it's really nice. And then you sauna and you go home and go to bed.
So you take a round after you...
Yeah, I'll always get
how many rounds do you usually...
I usually go 2 at least, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Every time?
Yeah. Yeah, while I'm cleaning, I'll throw some wood in there and do it, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good on you on that one, Kurt. That is great. Though I think I got the title for our Sauna Talk post.
Nice.
The host that saunas at the end or something like that.
Okay.
Because that was going to be my next question to you, is for somebody who's done hundreds of hosting sessions, like how do you work in the candy store, how do you survive without eating candy? But you get it at the end.
Yeah, and I always find some time to do some volunteer hosting too. Like, so if I'm in the middle of the day where I'm not opening or closing, I'll usually hang around for the second shift if there's not a support host and just get some time in there too. So there's always some time to squeeze in there. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Getting back to this patina business, or you made a great reference to the Du Nord sauna in Ely, and I've been there a few times. It is a magical. Every sauna has its own soul.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
absolutely does. It's like, violinists talking about certain instruments or something. It's like, I mean, you can tell just by walking in it. You get the sensory, how it looks and smells and how worn things are. Yeah,
and there is something magical about the 612 sauna. And,
I think so.
And I mean, I'm a sauna snob. We talked about that, and the heat is fantastic, and it's becoming. Do you believe in the spiritualness of this? Like, can you feel the spirit of that sauna different from others?
I think so. There's some really pretty saunas out there that I don't know if I would enjoy, that are more glass and contemporary and all that. I like the idea of the glass and perhaps looking out, especially if you have a view, because there are some North Shore saunas that are spectacular that have views of, like Superior and all that. So I wouldn't turn that down, but kind of like lake homes and cabins, you can have a McMansion lake home that's nicer than most homes in town, or you can have one with mismatched glasses and old sofas and all that. I'm always more comfortable in the second one than the first one,
So a lot of people are getting into this as a business, right? Like in their community.
Yeah.
What would be like a couple of bits of advice you would have to the saunapreneurs, these people that are mobilizing sauna in their communities? Is there a couple of things that come to mind?
Yeah. I like ours. Because it is a cooperative and we're real sensitive to trying to keep that price point where it's affordable. I have folks that I'll see every Sunday night that sauna is just on their schedule. It's just like bowling league or book club. It's like Sunday night, sauna night. So I'll see these same faces, these same people who I know now. We'll catch up on each other's lives, what all everybody's kids are doing and all that. So it is like the coffee shop, the gathering ground. So I would be sensitive to where you're pricing your models at, and what you're offering. Make sure it's something people want, not just gimmicky for the sake of it. I mean, I've seen some that have charcuterie boards and all these cool down things, and they're cool and pretty, and I would not turn down that experience if somebody offered it to me, but I don't know if you're going to replicate it very often. If you're charging somebody, $150, $200 for an hour's worth of whatever this whole experience is, people do it. They'll take a bunch of Instagram pictures and all that, but I don't think you'll see them again unless they're wealthy. Maybe. I don't know. What was I going to say on that too?
Yeah, no. For advice, saunapreneurs. The vibe, the patina.
Yeah, but for people, what I hear more, is for people asking about building at home, and I know you've got a lot of experience with that and you've got your ebook I've had so many people tell me that they want to build at home, wood fired, and I often tell them to look at your stuff and then think about a trailer because it helps you avoid a lot of the building code red tape that you would have. But a lot of people tell me, and it's interesting to me as we're standing here in a residential neighborhood, which is so cool, that they love hanging out with their neighbors around the fire pits in the fall and the spring, and they miss that during the winter, and they want a sauna to have the neighborhood adult playhouse. And I'm like, that is such a cool idea. And I've had several people tell me that, yeah.
A lot of people ask me, well, is sauna getting more popular? And so we're in my backyard. This is South Minneapolis, and Kurt and I are sauning in my garage sauna adjacent to the garage, big old elm tree, the sauna deck. And we can see probably 6, 8 houses around us.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, we just had a big snowfall here in Minneapolis, so it is idyllic with all the snow covering and everything hanging
in the
off
wood
all the
pile
tree
here.
limbs and the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so early on in the early 2000s when I built this, everyone made fun of me, and now they all want to be on the sauna bench with me. I have to beat them back.
Everybody, yeah.
And I think that to me is on a personal level, to me is the testament to how what's the word, accepted or revered.
Yeah, it
sauna
is. We sort of touched on it earlier with, we didn't really tease it all out, but when I'm hosting outside, I'll have people come up, be curious about it. They haven't made reservations, so it's not guests that I'm bringing inside, but people that just see the trailer, they want to come ask questions, and I'm happy to answer all that. But just the misunderstanding of how sauna is not just a one and done experience. I guess we did talk about that a bit inside, but it's a practice everywhere, and for Finns, it's like, yeah, of course you sauna. Why would you not sauna? It's like, you do this, and it's a health and wellness, and it's part of your daily life. It's just what you do.
Yeah. Hey, what's the policy? I should know this. I'm on the board of 612 Sauna Society. Do people bring beers, and is it okay?
Yeah,
if it's
we'll let them have beer. So, I mean, just the stuff at our site currently is there's a restaurant inside that has a beer and wine license, so they can purchase it there because they have the insurance and dram shop laws and all that stuff. We don't want it inside because, if it spills on the rocks, it makes a big mess and you got to clean it up and all that. But yeah, if people want to either have one to sip on during their cool down rounds or sit around the fire afterwards, they're welcome to do that.
Very European of you. Yeah. I like that. And you like a cold beer, don't you?
Yeah.
Would you like one?
Yeah, I will have one.
Tell me what your beer of choice.
Gosh.
What kind of beer do you like?
IPAs usually, and I know that's not a huge risk for these days, but that seems to be pretty mainstream.
I'm a total IPA kind of guy, and this posture, this philosophy. I remember John Munger and I go way back. John, he made that whole trailhead thing happen and stuff. And we talked about this. You want to stay out here for a minute and have a beer?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We talked about beer as it relates to a sauna experience. And this is my soliloquy on this gig, is that we talk about the health and wellness of sauna, right? And, mental health drives physical health.
Sure.
And my philosophy on that is if a cold beer makes you happy, it's not a bad thing.
No.
And that leads to, the mental health driving physical health of sauna.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. It's about relaxation and chilling out, right?
Yeah.
Right on.
It is.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question as I go get beer.
Yeah.
Well, you speak. Think about our guests, saunapreneurs, a lot of saunapreneurs. Tell us a story as a host of 2,000 hours.
Okay.
A story that comes to mind, either a funny story or risk averted story.
Okay.
Tell us about a guest experience that comes to mind.
Yeah, one of the things I will do is, I can't remember if we mentioned this earlier, but if I am, you can edit it out. I'll always ask people that are new to our sauna, so I don't recognize everybody on site. I know quite a few of the people, but I'll ask them if it's their first time sauning with us. If it is, I'll thank them certainly for making that leap of faith, and then ask them, how they happen to show up on our doorstep. And I'm always curious as to, if it was a recommendation from friends or they were just walking by and they saw it and they're like, oh, that sounds great, we should go do that, or how that happened to occur. And I always want to make it a welcoming experience because it's, I think, intimidating for some people. You and I have talked about this in the past, but for people that don't have a background in sauna, and we were kind of touching on that a moment ago, it is a leap of faith because, you can look at our website, you can walk by our trailer and see what's going on in the exterior, but you really don't know what you're walking into. And for some people, that may be an intimidating experience, particularly, I think single women, I always try and ask that. It's like, were you hesitant about booking this? Did you think you were going to walk into a bro fest, or was there something that seemed off about it? And we're going to try and make that a more welcoming experience. And I think having a video showing what to expect when you arrive would be helpful in that. And I know you and I have talked, and we can make that happen because we have some guests that do video production. So I think that would go a long way to explaining it.
How about a story? Like, give us some meat.
Oh, yeah.
A crazy story, a funny story, or
what was a funny story?
A risk-averted story. Maybe someone...
Yeah.
I mean, we get people
We'll get Russian dudes in once in a while. I haven't seen any this year, but when we were at ASI... there's a good one. So we were at American Swedish Institute, which, for people that aren't familiar with the Twin City metropolitan area, is a big mansion. It was a Turnblad mansion, and it's on Park Avenue? Yeah, it's on Park. And we were having sauna in the middle of that mezzanine area, their outdoor courtyard, like I was explaining. And across from it is an old... maybe 80-year-old apartment building. And I watched this woman come out the front door of that, and she was having some difficulty walking. I think she had some mobility issues, and it was the middle of winter, and she was having to fight her way through slush and all that. Came over specifically to ask us what we were doing there. Was it a sauna? And she was a transplant from Sweden. As a little girl, she had gone to all the public saunas and stuff. And it was such a touchstone for her that she, from her apartment building, made the, however many 100-yard walk that is through slush with her walker and everything, just to come over to talk to us and share like stories of her growing up in Montana and all that. Yeah, it was neat. And we've had like Russian men come in there that, there's a threesome that used to come in fairly regularly, and they're just, big, burly Russian dudes, and they would bring Venix with them, and they were hooting and hollering.
As a host, don't you?
Yeah, I love cleaning up after them. Yeah, but we've had couples meet there. I can't remember their names now, but we have had romances bud from there,
and a wedding.
I think we can claim a wedding too. Yeah. To my recollection, there was at least one wedding. Yeah.
How about the Minneapolis, Minnesota? What? Like, it's a small percent of tourists, like non-residents, that stumble upon the sauna. But I know that 612 is known around. It's a thing to do. Like, let's go see Minnehaha Falls, right? Let's go to Surly Brewing.
Yep.
And let's go sauna, right?
Yeah, so a couple things on that. Now that you mentioned that just brought me back to when we had the Forge at Surly Brewing, which is where you're, like Glenn said, that's where your concierge is going to send you in town if you come and you want to go to the brewery. Mm-hmm. We were there for the Super Bowl in, what year was that? 18?
Yeah, 2000.
2000, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember clearly hosting, and we were in a corner of Surly's yard in back. So they had fire pits outside. They've got a very nice outdoor patio area. So they had the fire pits going and everything. And all the media types were there. So all the people from Texas and Florida and Georgia that were coming up to cover the Super Bowl and had some exposure there. The concierge sends them there.
Yep.
They're all hooting and hollering. They're half sideways already. And they came running over there and they're like, what on earth is this? And I told them, and they're like, I want in. And I'm like, well, do you have a swimsuit? And they're like, no, but I got, So we had people in there in sports bras and boxer shorts. And we ended up going, one of the employees came over and found Omar's stash of darkness in the basement. We cracked into that, and it was
It was a late night?
Yeah, it was a late night.
Wow. And
But-
you just let it roll.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it had taken on a life of its own. I wasn't going to stop it if I tried at that point.
That's wild. Now, as a host, I mean, you're a responsible guy and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody was cool. Did you ever feel like things were unraveling?
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen, and I understand how it happens, and it's pretty easy to see, and you can cut it off, is periodically at the trailhead when they're having a big competition like Lopet or Fat Tire Bike Race or something like that. At the end of that, all the athletes are coming out. They're gassed. They have a couple of beers. You know, and they probably had anything to eat that day. Or if they did, they'd cut through all their calories already.
Yes.
And they're, you know, they did well in the race. They want to come in and they kind of bum rush us on. And like, I want in on this. And I'm like, we can't.
Right.
You know, we're sold out. Whatever. But
Right.
yeah, I haven't had any really crazy. Violent experiences. Anyone storming the gates aside from
storming the gates. That's great. Well, you know, for those listening, if you don't know Kirk Jensen, well, his stature, I think you do a nice job of. But I mean, there are other hosts that are petite and not.
Yeah.
You know, and I could see them being overwhelmed if there's.
Yeah, it is. You know, and yeah, fortunately we've not had a lot of those events. And even when we've been at breweries, it's usually pretty tame. Like, you know, the Sterling thing was kind of a one-off. There's a big national event and all those kinds of things. Like Bauhaus Brewing, where I think we're going back this coming spring. We were there last year, and that was a really good relationship. It was funny in that we were located on their patio or adjacent to their patio, right next to where the food trucks were. So.
Right.
You've got people outside. It's a pet-friendly area, so they've got their dogs. They're ordering, you know, food from the barbecue truck, and then there's sauna going on mixed into all this, which was actually kind of funny because, you know, again, you're in a fishbowl, but locals, after a day or two of you being on site, they don't even notice you anymore.
Absolutely.
You're just part of the background and blend in.
So as you think about all of the locations where the season, is there one that stands out as your favorite?
I think mine to host at, just for ease of hosting, is Silverwood Park in St. Anthony Village. Just because, and again, this is solely for my comfort because we've got electricity and water instantly available. We've got a lake there for people to jump into. Lots of parking and all that. The fan favorite, absolutely, hands down, is Hidden Beach at Cedar Lake. That is without a doubt the favorite spot for sure. And we've got photos on our website if anybody trolls that, and you've seen them, I'm sure, Glenn, of Owen Wilson was in town for, I don't know if he was visiting people or he was shooting a film or what he was doing, but I wasn't there at the time, but he just happened upon the trailer when it was down there, and I think it was JP was visiting with him, and he actually like joined in. I guess he was like collecting firewood and
helped John close.
Yeah, and
he came back.
I think he came back the next day. Yeah, so he was all in. So it was funny. That was. I'm trying to think if I've had any other celebrity sightings. A couple of people. Travis Green from the Minnesota Wild is one of their trainers. He comes fairly regularly. He and I have been scheming to try and get some of the players on the bench and do some charity stuff. So if schedule allows, I know he's advanced that to the front office and you know, he's pushing from his end and I'm trying to pull from ours. So hopefully we can get something going there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
One more, and I got a couple of rapid fire questions.
Sure.
You doing okay?
I am.
Yeah, great. So we talked about sauna businesses popping up.
Yeah.
Like, so let's just say someone from Billings, Montana came in and you were shooting the breeze between rounds and they're like so enthralled with this concept that they're going to do it in Billings and stuff. Where would you, what type of place do you suggest somebody deploy a sauna in? You know, like in Billings or whatever, would it be like? What would you advise them? Like, where would you suggest they deploy? What type of place?
I would. I would hope it would be publicly accessible. I know it would be terribly easy for very well-heeled resorts to do something like that and make it guests only and price it so it'd be outside of the normal range of folks. So I would hope it'd be some publicly accessible spot that they could do that. And I know you and I have talked about this too. Sort of a concept is that with our organization being a cooperative, and I believe first in the nation and maybe still sole cooperative sauna in the nation. I don't know if anybody can correct me on that, but to my knowledge anyways, it would be nice to see more co-op models out there, and I could conceive of a reciprocity arrangement with that as people travel across the U.S. It would sure be nice, kind of like youth hostels or something like that, where one membership gets you access or preferential pricing to all of those. So I would encourage people to use that cooperative model, because I think that
and credit to JP on that. I mean,
that was really clever on his part. I don't know that I would have been able to conceive of that at the time.
Amazing. I mean, just such foresight on several levels, to do this. But on this, so why cooperative model? Why do you feel that's an advantage?
Well, it gives people a sense of ownership, and I like that the members are engaged. And like I was talking about earlier about having videographers and people that can storyboard stuff if we want to do a video, that was all conversations I had with people that are members. They're not sauna staff, they're cooperative members. And we were talking about it. I'm like, hey, I knew one guy does video for one of the news stations, and one of the other women has worked in marketing before, so she could help with the storyboarding and stuff. And I'm like, I'm in. Let's totally do that. So you get people stepping up to volunteer for those types of things, and then with that sense of ownership, it's really cool because I'll hear things when we're talking and just keywords that help you realize it's been sent home. It's like, where are we going next? Where are we? And it's always that group thing, shoot, what else was I going to say?
No, that's beautiful. And while you're thinking, shout out to Margie Weaver too, who worked with JP and really leaned in on that cooperative model.
Member night. That's where I was going to go. Is that we have always had member nights. We haven't been super good in the past about advertising those ahead of time and making sure that those are available. But we do have complimentary member nights for people that are 612 Sauna Cooperative members. Specified days and nights during each month where they can sauna free of charge.
And we had a board meeting last night, and it's kind of cool that we have this gentle situation, and that we need to be open more, and what I loved in that conversation is it's sort of like once the 18-wheeler gets rolling, so we can add a session or two to an existing day, and I find that like back to your point, just the how practical it is that once you're up to serving temperature in the hot room, it's just a couple of logs here and there.
Yes.
And so, opening an extra day is one thing, but opening for a couple extra shifts on an existing day is a lot easier, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And to your point, it's economically more viable, certainly, and it's easier to do because, somebody's going to open anyway. So if you open 3 hours earlier, you can squeeze another shift in.
And do you like the Kuma stove?
I do. It is by far my favorite. Not that I've worked with a lot of wood burning sauna stoves.
Next to your wife, it's your favorite.
Yeah, it is. It is so easy to work with, and
is it your favorite thing in life outside of your children in your life?
That'd be a little risky, but and it's super forgiving. I will come in whether I'm opening or picking up an existing shift from somebody. Whether somebody has already done that and I'm taking over from them. I'll just make sure I've got some kindling cut, some very small sticks, maybe a couple of logs worth of that, and I'll squirrel that in the corner. And I know that if I get distracted or pulled away to do something and the fire starts to die out, if there's any embers left at all, I can chuck a couple of those in there, open the ash pan, and it's going to relight. I mean, every time. It is a very forgiving stove in that respect, that it ain't dead till it's dead.
Right on.
You can,
and it's recoverable.
Yes.
With these little tricks there.
Yep.
But very rarely do you. We talked a little bit about this. I like throwing a big ass piece of wood in there, and I find that is. So what's so cool about that is the combustion, right? So when you have a couple of big, and this is a medium Kuma that's in the 612 sauna, and so there's a nice size firebox, so it can hold a lot of wood, and I like building a pile of coal, like hot coals.
Oh, yeah.
I like the coal bed.
Yep.
And then I like to throw a couple of big ones in there and tone it down and just hums.
It really does. Unless you're really testing its recovery time, and I talked about that. We have, I'm sure your listeners have probably heard you talk about Aufguss before, but we have a German national, Alex Treitsch, who's a certified sauna meister in Germany, who does Aufguss sessions for us specifically, and he'll do them for other organizations in town. But kudos to Alex for doing that, because he donates his share of the proceeds to a PTSD organization. So he's doing it all out of hide. But the Aufguss sessions require a lot of steam, so that requires a pretty quick recovery time on the stove, and it is challenging because with his cool down rounds, I've got to get in there right away with some smaller pieces of wood that have a lot of surface area, in order to get it caught back up. But to your point, during normal operations, big. So
he's hitting a lot of water.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
It's like walking into a rainforest when he's done.
but if the room is super hot, that's a lot of stress on people to have that amount of heat and steam.
It is,
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
do you like to start it a little cooler when he's doing Aufguss?
Yeah, I do. I usually, keep it 180 to 190 rather than 190 to 200. I usually like it closer to 200, and you get too much more above that, it gets a little uncomfortable. I know there's Russians would argue otherwise, but
do you encourage? So is that too hot for some guests?
200. I will tell people that, and I'll usually get a clutch the pearls gasp, and they'll be like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, I said, physics still apply. We do have the lower bench, so you don't have to subject yourself to the full brunt of that. You can do that, and
people do that.
Yeah.
And there's no harm in that.
No. Regulars tend to prefer it on the hotter side, and they want the legitimate sauna experience. They don't want the 150 degree YMCA sauna. They want sauna heat. And I mean, that's job one.
Yeah, I love it. Fantastic. Well, listen, I want to thank you for being a guest on Sauna Talk, Kirk.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Anything? I got a couple rapid fire questions before we jump into that.
Myself.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to share for listeners, or anything we didn't touch upon during this visit? I mean,
oh gosh,
so great to hear.
Yeah,
your stories.
I would. I guess if they're listening to this, they're already sauna converts, so there's no sense making a plea to try sauna. They're probably already in it. Take your friends. Bring your friends to sauna. Help them to understand what it is. That's not just a novelty or gimmicky thing. That there is.
Let's get a little snobby as you throw water and make a little more steam. Let's talk about good sauna. I asked you before, and I wrote about that. When we try to help people, that's nice.
It is.
Help newbies, into this. Some may be thinking that other forms of sweating is sauna, like this infrared therapy room type thing, or you had alluded to the health club sauna, which has kind of got a bad rap, and in most cases for a good reason. You know? So we talk about the holy trinity of good sauna, which is heat, steam, and ventilation. And I mean, I am a huge fan of the heat and steam and ventilation of the 612 sauna. Do you get into the nuances of what is good sauna with as a host?
Yeah, I'll try and cover that. You know, I'll go in and self-profess to being a wood-fired snob and lead with that and tell them my rationale behind it, which I think is sound. You know what I said earlier, that
Wavelength
about the wavelength and the deeper penetration and the warming from the inside rather than just bouncing off your exterior and the sensory stuff and all that. And most people buy into that. You know, I think they get that organically. That it's
Yeah, it was great in the board meeting last night. Cindy said, just out of nowhere, she says, well, you know, it's all about good heat, you know.
It is.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, and, you know, just as we're sitting here with, the soft lighting and I'm looking at your sauna door and, we're seeing the fire reflected off of that. It's like all those things that you just notice without noticing them, that all adds to the experience of it. It's like I said, you can't, or I don't like things to be too sterile and modern and detached. I like, shop worn stuff.
Beautiful. So the 612 sauna, it's a mobile sauna. And so Kirk, if you could have a mobile sauna and go bring it or sauna anywhere in the world, what's the first place that comes to mind for you?
This is going to seem very peculiar, but I don't think they have one, and I think it would be appreciated. So my day job is I teach at a military flight simulator, and one of my students, or one of the squadrons that I teach, is the New York Air Guard Unit, which is in Scotia, Schenectady. And they are the U.S. ski-equipped aircraft that support the polar operations down in Antarctica. So I think it would be super fun to have one down there for the scientists and the folks that are down there, because that's kind of a hardship for those folks. Yeah. And creature comforts are pretty non-existent down there aside from just food and work. So I think that would be a good thing for them. If I was going to do it personally, gosh, where would I put it? North Shore is an easy one. That's a cheap shot though. Anybody can do that one.
That's true.
Vancouver or somewhere in the Pacific Northwest would be spectacular.
And the commonality for that, whether it's North Shore or the Northwest,
Maine coast,
the water element. And you talked about Hidden Beach. That's a game changer to be able to have access to.
Yeah, having open water is key. I mean, that is such a big, because we shut down for June, July, August, and because here in the Twin Cities, if it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity, that's a pretty tough sell. Now, if we were up on the North Shore, if we were Duluth, Two Harbors, anywhere in there, I mean, gosh, it's open year round easily. I mean,
absolutely, and that's some of the best saunas I've had. To that note, so you're in the hot room, 180, 200, like you're saying. You can go outside and it's a summer, that beautiful Minnesota summer day of 70, but you're in that lake and it's 38, 42 tops. Yeah, that, and then you come out and then your body starts equalizing and that climate. Oh, that's
it's good. It's good living.
If you could sauna with anybody in the world, like dead, alive, past, present, sit on the bench just with one other person. Who's the first person that comes to mind?
Trying to think, trying to come up with something that makes me sound very, very deep and philosophical.
Oh, come on, Kirk. You don't have to do that. Like first person to come to mind.
Actually, I think it would be my grandfather, because I never got a chance to do anything like that with him, and I don't know if he had any experience with that. They were Danish immigrants. I know Denmark has a sauna culture. I don't know if he did as a child or that, and it's always just nice to. It's an easy way to start a conversation because there's no rank on the bench. Everybody's equal. It's a great equalizer, and I'm sure a lot of political arguments and business discussions could be sorted out a lot easier on the bench than they could in boardrooms and stuff like that. So, I mean, it might be interesting to see I don't know if there's any current rifts between them, but like the mayor of St. Paul in New York or St. Paul and Minneapolis get together and talk about common stuff on the bench. I know I've talked to Peter McLaughlin about that before. I know he's not, in an elected position now, but it'd be interesting to get the board of commissioners or city council or something in here and just let them have at it.
Lovely. You're a connector, Kirk.
Yeah.
Last question. You've hosted 2,000 hours worth of sauna. You could do the math on that about how many different people, that you've hosted through and stuff. And you also reference newbies, those not so familiar, but open-minded enough to want to experience. So that's a ground, the groundwork for my question is, what do you think is most misunderstood about sauna that you would like others to know in this?
Yeah, I think that there are health benefits, and that because of that, or as a happy accident, that it is a daily practice in a lot of parts of the world, and that it isn't just as I said earlier a couple of times, it's not just a novelty or something goofy to do. It is a premeditated daily practice for a lot of people in parts of the world, and they can reap the benefits from that.
Thanks for being a part.
Thanks, Glenn. I was really, really enjoying it. This has been great fun.